Okay, so it's just about hit 11:30 here in Melbourne. So we'll start today's webinar. So today is going to be the first webinar of the Simple Invest Training Week, or otherwise known as the Education Week. Our first topic, as you can see, is the property dashboard and depreciation. My name is Andre Jones. I'm a BGL product education specialist. So it's my job to help teach ideas and concepts and how to use screens. And today we'll be running through basically what is the best practice for the property dashboard and depreciation. So we'll go into the next slide. So we'll start with a bit of housekeeping. So if you guys have any questions, and like with all webinars, we do encourage questions to be sent in as fast, as many as you like. So if you have any questions, everyone here is invited as a listen-only mode, so you won't be able to speak during today's webinar. There's a fair few of you guys here, so I'm sure you can appreciate why why you can't be able to speak. However, you do have a Q&A box located right at the bottom of your screen, and what you would do is just type in your question and click send. Today, I'm joined with a few members of the product and education team, so Norman and Daniel, and we also have got a Simple Invest specialist here called Andrew. So if I can't be able to answer your questions, they'll be able to answer the questions for me. Now, this webinar will be recorded, and everyone that has registered for this webinar will be able to receive the PowerPoint as well as the recording to their emails that was used to register. So, however, it will also be uploaded on the YouTube channel, BGL's YouTube channel. So if you want to give this recording to someone else and they weren't registered, all you need to do is pass on the YouTube channel and it should be uploaded between 1 and 2 business days, I would suspect. All right. So let's have a look about the training week. So today, of course, is going to be the property dashboard and depreciation. However, we do have a few other training topics as well. So we have consolidated reporting, Division 7A loans, as well as year-end compliance, as well as contact and management. So a few of them. So really what the training week is designed to do is we're going to show you the tips and tricks of Simple Invest, what it's designed to do, and hopefully what you could do yourself is implement 1 or 2 of these tips into your daily practice. So we'll be showing you the best practice, and if you would like to pick it up, feel free. And I'll actually send you guys a link of where to register for the other webinars if you have not done so already. Let me just find that link. Uh, So there is our training week. So here is that link I just put in. You'll be able to register for the others. And look, if you're not, you might be busy during that time. However, if you do register, you'll be able to sign up for the recording as well as get the the PowerPoint slides. So it's a win-win. All right, let's go to the next one. So what are we going to do today? We're going to be creating a property through the property map dashboard, and we're going to have a bit of a navigation about what's the new features, what is the new screen, as well as property management. So previously in the old property dashboard, you weren't able to do a lot of property management. So you won't be able to, have a look into your lease agreements or let's just say your insurance. So we're going to highlight how we can use the property dashboard to really consolidate any property tasks into that one screen. And of course, afterwards, we'll have a look at depreciation. So we've got a bit of a full-on lesson. So today's webinar is probably going to be a short one, about 25 minutes or so. And then afterwards, we'll have a bit of Q&A. But please don't let that stop you. If you have any questions, fire away or straight away. All right, so jumping the gun there. Let's go into Simple Invest. All right, so hopefully we're all familiar with the screen. We're going to be working in the Rogers Unit Trust. So it's pretty standard sort of a trust. And to get to the property dashboard, all we're going to do is go to Investments, and go into property dashboard. Now, before we start, I understand that some of you might be adapting to the new menu that has been released last month. However, we'll be working in the old-fashioned menu for today's webinar. All right, so we'll carry on. So this is our new property dashboard. Hopefully, we've got a few clients that are familiar with this, and it's not a complete surprise that it's changed. So this is actually new property dashboard, and same purpose as the one before. This is where we're going to add properties. However, it does have a couple new features, which is pretty neat, I think. So at the top, you can see we've already created a property, and we have our deck, so our top card. So you can show us at a pretty base level of what's going on in this entity. So you can see it has an entity of 1 million, sorry, a debt of 1 million, an equity value of 3.5 million, a market value of 4.5, net rent and depreciation. So these are coming from the actual what you've already entered into the software. So if we go, when you go past, it will update as long as you start processing the property transactions. All right. So the first step we're going to do is actually add a property. So we're going to add a property through this, clicking this button here. Now we're going to do search for the address. Now this is always, it has been integrated with Google. So as long as the address is here, we should be able to find it. So Hampton, there we go. And we have our property type. So again, it's much like our property dashboard as before. We do have a few different property types that we support. So Australian, non-residential, overseas, as well as farming property. However, we're going to do the Australian residential. The account code here, you can edit. So this is at this point when you're creating the property, this is the only point where you can actually edit the property account code. So we might not like 13 Ivy Street, sorry, and we might keep it as 13 Ivy. Look, this is a completely aesthetic point of view. It doesn't really change too much. It just depends how you like your account codes. Our next one is subject to CGT. So of course we want it as yes, as it's property. However, we do give you the option to say no. Our next one is our LRBA and loan. So is there a loan or LRBA associated with this property? We'll say yes, and that will update it in the chart of accounts. So we'll press save. So here we have that property already created, 13 Ivy. So we've already, in this step here, we've already actually linked all the property accounts to this account. So we've already done it for you, so you don't have to go to the chart of accounts, but we'll just show it for you. We're going to go to chart of accounts, have a look at 13 Ivy. So you can see we've already created that account and all of the linked accounts are here. Now, remember, linked accounts are used so that we posted these accounts if it's an expense or an income. So we're not posting against that 772. If we post against this one, this will decrease or increase the property's value by itself. So that's just a top tip to be reminded of. Let's get back into the property dashboard. Now, our next thing is what we're going to do. You can see there's a red button here saying there's a note valuation. So we're going to add a valuation. So there's a couple of ways to put a valuation. Now we do have external service providers. So for our valuation, so we have our integration partners. So you can see here. Now, each different provider does have a different rate as well as a different service. So you can choose which benefits you the most. However, if you choose Connect, it will send you to their landing page for BGR. However, based on feedback which the Simple Invest team got received when they were building this screen, is that not everyone uses a service provider. Some people just use the domain account or the real estate account, realestate.com, and just search for its value. So we'll do that right now. So we'll search domain. So we can see it could be worth around 2.2 million. So what we can do is based on this information, we're going to go with the median amount of 2.12 mil. We'll enter that value. So for this in the valuation, 20. And we can add a source document. We can add a document, which we do actually have. Let's see if we can grab it, choose a file, already there. So, and we can upload the document. Now, uploading documents within this property dashboard is actually really convenient for people that use the work papers function as well. So we've kept this in mind. So when you upload documents to a property like we are here, it's going to attach it to this property count. So 77200, that's the property count for this property, as well as the year. We can add a tag if you would like, and it's going to put it into the document screen with that folder already in. However, what's going to happen as well is because it already has that folder in, it's going to go straight to your work papers once you generate work papers. So it's really automating that experience for your property. So it's all in that one place. I'm going to press upload. Oh, and there we go. I'm back. Oh. So it'd be there. Let me just refresh the screen. Oh, well. 2.122. Well, I spent a bit too much time explaining what the feature is. Or we'll keep it as online and press save. There we go. So it's all there. Our next step, what you want to do is carry it forth. So you've got your rental agreement. So this is where you put your rental, your expenses. So this will actually have a look at your transactions, so your income as well as your expenses as it comes forth. Our next one is our cost. So when you put in your cost, so we won't be doing how to put in the, process the property. We'll be focusing more about the property dashboard. Our next one is loan and insurance. Now, what we do have as well, I've created another property just to show, and I've processed a couple of transactions just to show the features of the property dashboard. So as long as we're selecting this one here, you can see we have a price, a date, and the source document, as well as our rental. So you can see here we've got our net rental yield as well as our last rental appraisal. So we can generate our rental statement, and that will have our rental statement already as a PDF. However, you can choose to go to an Excel if you choose to. As we go forth, now this income and expenses, we've actually generated transactions. So it is already there. So as long as you post transactions to those linked accounts that we created before for 13 Ivy Street, this is where it picks up. If you're just posting it to a property, to a different property, it won't rock up. So you just got to make sure that when you're doing your property accounts, post it to the linked account. Below we have our lease information. So if you have lease information, you can put it in through here. So we have our cost, and you can see we've just done one transaction. So those that are posting to the 772 account for the property as shown here, this will be where it's coming from. Now the cost element, we've got the purchase cost. However, you can adjust it as well. So we do have a few different ways. And really the purpose for this cost element is to show, to highlight what is the reason for this transaction. So maybe you've got someone else working on it as well, and you've posted a transaction, and it might be a bit of a miscommunication about what was the purpose of that transaction. This is probably why we've implemented the cost element, just to make sure that we're labeling transactions and everyone is on the same page. All right. Our next one is our loan. So when you have a loan account, you do have, so as we created that that property, we did have that toggle for LRBA. And once you log it on, you have that loan account as well as the bare trust name as well. We do have insurance, so you can put in your insurance provider and your insurance premium. So this figure here is coming from the transactions that I've posted. So property dashboard again will read what you've posted in your transaction list to make sure it's giving you the accurate information per property. After that is title. Now, title is probably more relevant for those that have a property portfolio, and this is where you would put in your folio number, and title reference. So this is probably a bit more relevant for those that use that. Now, disposal. So we're not going to dispose a property of today. However, you do have the ability to dispose properties as well as communicate it on the screen. So once it's been disposed, you can see it's been here. So we do have the option of manually disposed and not disposed. Now, again, if you have any other documents, so we'll add another document here. And we'll upload a document. Any additional documents? We go rental agreement and press upload. So it's currently unrecognized, but if you have any documents again that maybe don't fall for your valuation, but it's really important to have in the system, just feel free to upload it through here. This is probably, again, a best practice tip. If you have documents specifically for a property, go into the property dashboard and upload their documents through here. It's going to make sure it's going to be updated. Now, we do have that. And again, we go to have a look at our view transactions up the top. You can see we have transactions here. And I see Andrew's got a question about improvements and other assets added to the cost base. Now, that's a great question. Now, with Simple Invest and Simple Fund 360, there's one thing to note about when you're doing improvements and decreasements to the cost base, and that's with the units. So I understand that Zero and MyOb doesn't have units. However, Simple Invest and Simple Fund does. So if you're going to increase the property cost base or decrease it, what you need to do is post 0 in the units. So we'll just do it quite quickly. So we're going to use the 77200. We do it for the Wallen, a 0. And then if we're going to increase the cost base, we're going to put it as maybe, let's increase it by 50,000. So be in the debits. And what you could do, depending on the other side of the equation, so perhaps it's let's say internal improvement, or it's something along those lines. You would have to choose your own account. But however, what we can do is use the 77200 and go to Wallen and make sure it equals off. The date, it's the same. And we have to do the parcel. Usually just forget about that. And press OK. So hopefully, Andrew, that answers your question. Now let's go back into the property dashboard. Investments, property dashboard. Now there is another feature here, and that's the property summary report. So here what you can do is you can generate it, and Simple Invest team has reached out to multiple accountants, and one of the key feedbacks that they receive is, if you do have a report in the screen, how can I change it to an Excel instead of a PDF? And what they've done is they've actually built in an Excel spreadsheet as well. So what you can do is you can generate this property summary report. So maybe you would just want it for this one. Sorry, not for 13 Ivy, just for Wallen, and then we can generate that report in Excel, and you can download it later on. Now, there's one last feature that I just want to show about the property dashboard screen. And what you may have noticed during this at the moment is that in the global view, there is one. So if I go through here, there's a red dash. So this red dash represents what properties it's out of date for, is out of date for your valuations. So you can see here that the 32 Smith Street for the Sydney Super Fund has a out of date valuation. Now, what you would need to do is press add and add a new valuation. However, this is only our valuation warning is going off at 1 year. So perhaps if I choose to go to 2 years, we don't have any valuation warnings. But that doesn't mean you should extend your valuations by another year. However, it just gives you a warning to see which valuations of your property at a global level is coming out of date. So that is why we've generated that there. So if anyone has any other questions about the property dashboard, feel free to put them in. However, before we leave the depreciation, there is one thing I would like to show everyone here, and that is the feedback button. So the team that made this screen was built it based on client feedback, so your guys' feedback. So if you have any questions about how Simple Invest, or you've got any advice about how we can improve this screen, feel free to use it. I actually encourage you to provide feedback to see how we can improve it, or if you like it, just let us know that you like it. The team do like to celebrate their wins. But again, if you have anything, maybe it's not even to do with the software itself, and you have a manual calculation that you need to do for your property, feel free to put that in and see if the team can implement something in the software for you. All right. Okay, so that's our property dashboard. Our next one is the counting on investments. It is our depreciation. So we're going to go to our compliance screen. So we go to our period compliance. Now I do have a poll that I'm going to put in. See if this works. So in Simple Invest 360, we do have an inbuilt depreciation screen. We to put a poll in to see how many people here use the depreciation screen and how many people don't use the depreciation screen. So feel free to put it in. We'll just wait a minute or two. All right. So it seems like it's a pretty mixed kind of group. So we have the majority with about 60% using the depreciation screen and another 40% not utilizing the depreciation screen. So for those that haven't seen the depreciation screen, we'll use it right now. So again, through the compliance, period compliance, you can press add depreciation screen through here and poll. So here is our depreciation screen. So we have a new asset or new worksheet option. So the two options here is the asset. So perhaps what you would do, I understand accountants do things differently. So some people like to create codes for your assets. So that'd be your oven, your aircon, and your dishwasher, for example, and you would like to depreciate that separately. So that would be your new asset. So what you would need to do is create an asset for, let's say, your oven, and then you would search the asset for oven through here, and you would do the rest as so. However, what the option that we're going to do, because it is a property theme webinar, we're going to use the worksheet. So we're going to go through the new worksheet. The benefits of using the worksheet rather than the asset an asset worksheet is that with this, it combines for if you have, let's say, a property and it has multiple depreciable assets within it, you'd be able to depreciate those assets all at once and you don't have to do it individually. So this is the beneficial part. All right, so first we're going to search up for that property. So this is Wallen. Our first asset will be the oven. That'll be oven 1 for the code. Our purchase date will be the 1st of July 2023. Opening cost is 3,200. Now we do have multiple depreciation methods. So we have the prime cost, diminishing value method, low value pool, capital works deduction, and no depreciation. We're going to go with the prime cost method with the depreciation rate of 8.3. I'm going to copy this one, put it over here, and we have our business use percentage as 100. We're going to add it to our registry. So that registry is going to be our table. So this is going to be the property account and then what is involved in the and what assets are combined in this property as well. So we're going to keep on going. Our next one is aircon. So air 1, again, it's going to use the same date, 2023. Opening cost is going to be 2,000. Depreciation method is going to be our prime cost method. Depreciation rate is 6.7. Then our open written down value, again, we'll just use it as 2,000. And our business percentage use is 100 at registry. Our asset name for our next one is dishwasher. Dish 1. Our date is the 1st of 07, 2023. Opening cost for this value is 700. Depreciation method, prime cost depreciation rate is 10%, and we use the 700, that's 100% through here. So we add our registry. So if you keep on going, and look, perhaps if you have a lot, you might want to use our import CSV. So this would be, we have a CSV file that you can download and you can just put in all the values. It might be a bit faster, you'll find. And all you would need to do is import it through here. So you would download it and then you would input it through here. So that might be Jacqueline. That might be helping you a bit more. So if you could input it into our CSV file. So if we click it here, it will lead us to our support article. And what you could do through here is download a CSV document. Let me find it. It's linked through here, gives you the instructions of what to do, how to import it. And then once you put it on your CSV, you go back to your depreciation screen and you would import it through here. Let's get it done. Then we do have another asset, and that is going to be our capital works. So we're going to put it through here. So our capital works. Our asset code is going to be cap 1. Our purchase code is the 1st of the 7th, 2023. Opening cost is 240,000. Depreciation method this time is going to be a capital work deduction, and that's going to be a 2.5%. Open written down value, again, 240,000 and plus, and this is 100% business use. So we're going to add to our registry. So now that we've done, what we're going to do is press close. And before I press close, if you feel like you've got something wrong, you can edit it. So if we press, let's just say edit it through here, we can edit it, press save and continue. But again, just because you put it in doesn't mean it has to be there forever. So we've put in our documents. Our next step is to actually post depreciation. I'm going to press post. And I'm going to post it for this day. So depreciations have been successfully posted. So we're going to have a look. We're going to go to our accounting tab, have a look at our transactions. Now there's a certain drop box we're going to have a look at, and there it is. So that is our depreciation screen. And as you can see, it does the calculations for us. And what you'll find out is that we don't actually have to do this every financial year. So if we go back to our compliance, go back to our depreciation screen, what you can do here is once you marked it as reviewed, the system knows that this is going to be happening at a yearly basis. So once you've done this process, the financial year, close the period and open the next period, because it's in reviewed, it's going to bring it back. And all you would need to do is post depreciation, assuming that nothing has changed, haven't disposed of any assets, you just keep on going. Go. So, and for this one here, because it's reviewed, we can always bring it back to mark it as incomplete and press close. So that brings us back here. Or what you would just do is you would edit it through here and then put it back as reviewed. So again, it's like processing your workflow. You can reverse your workflow at any point in time. Go. But yes. All right. Now, I see there's a couple of questions about why there's GST on depreciation. This is a testing environment, so there might be a couple of things a bit wonky. However, this entity is GST registered, so it might be a couple of things like that, which is quite easily to fix. It might just be an overlook of myself while preparing for this, preparing the database for this webinar. We'll keep on going. But no. And of course, with our depreciation, we do have scheduled providers. So perhaps I've scared you about what things that need to be done to calculate the asset depreciation in Simple Invest. And you would like to contact a provider to do it for you. And we have this here. And again, same thing as our valuation providers is that once you press connect, it'll go to their loading page and they'll give you a quote of about how much you need to pay to receive their services. But that brings us to the end of today's webinar, and we're going to stay around for about another 10 to 15 minutes, make sure that everyone here has answered their questions, and then we can keep on going. And so we'll go back. So again, if anyone has any Q&As about today's session, feel free to put it in. We're going to spend a bit more time answering your questions. Now that we're all here together, it might be a good idea to utilize that resource. So Janaki writes, how do you post from surveyor's report? Now, the surveyor's report, I'm not as familiar with it. However, I don't think we have an area to do it in our property dashboard at the moment. However, what we can do is we can take that back as a feedback and see how we can implement it into our property dashboard. So, Jackie, if you would like to use that feedback, just put in, I'd like to see how to put in a surveyor's report into Simple Invest. I'm sure the team will be able to at least plan an idea about how to use it. I see everyone is writing a response. Um, Rinku, sorry if I'm butchering your name, writes, would we get a recording of the session? I joined very late. That's okay. Because you've registered, you automatically will receive a recording of today's session. It will be emailed to you to the email address that you used to register for this account. However, it also will be available on BGL's YouTube channel. So either it's going to be posted there first, or you will receive an email with today's recording as well as the links for the BGL, the link to the recording. There you go. So Sandra writes, how do you press? What is the process for disposal of one asset in a property, for example, an oven? So look, it depends on how you've entered the oven in Simple Invest. Have you created a separate asset account for it, or have you put it into a worksheet like what we did before? So if it's just in an asset, it's quite simple. You write a depreciation. Sorry, you write a journal disposing of the oven, for example. However, if it is uh, in that worksheet, what you might want to do is using one of our linked accounts, put the proceeds or the disposal. Typically, you use a bank account and put it against either the one of the more appropriate linked property accounts, and there are a fair for them. Um, Actually, what I might do is there we there are a lot of different linked property accounts that you can use. If you look up the global chart of accounts, I might send you the one for what's it called for Simple Invest. You can choose which one would probably be the most appropriate. We can tell you the process, however, we just can't tell you what accounts to use. Um, so you go through here. So, oh, great question. So someone's right, with assets with a value of under 1,000, what is the process of creating a pool and allocating it to a pool instead? Now, what you can do is you can remove it from your worksheet or your asset worksheet. But if you have it in your the property worksheet, that is, you can remove it and you can actually go into, let's say, go to our compliance screen again, go to our depreciation. And what you do is create it in that low value pool through here. So you just remove it from one worksheet and add it to the low value pool, and it should work. All right. FFF. Hi, Rick. So Rick's uploaded documents when he's entered a transaction. Can they transfer to the property? Look, Rick, now what you could do, I think I know what you're talking about. So you've gone to the transaction list and you've entered it manually. Look, what if it's already in the system? What you could do is go to the document screen, locate those documents. So if I go on my screen, so go to to, to the documents, and perhaps this is where your documents will be there. What you would want to do is just add a folder to your 772, or depending on what property account you use, upload it through there, attach it through there. That's probably the simplest way if you've already uploaded the documents. However, again, if you are going to do it in the future for your property documents, uh, the best way, the easiest way, just do it through your property dashboard screen. So if I'm uploading documents for 13 Ivy, I'm just pressing here and add documents. So again, if you already uploaded the documents, go to the document screen, add a folder, attach it to your property account, and that way, when you generate work papers, it's going to be already in the right place for you. Yeah, well, we're almost there. We've got Daniel answering the last question. Might be here for just another minute, just in case anyone has any other questions. But if no one has any further questions, I just want to thank you all for being in today's webinar. You made it all very interactive. And we hope to see you in tomorrow's webinar, Consolidated Reporting. I know Norman, the host, is very excited to present it. So, however, if no one has any questions, you'd be able to leave.